G'day, I'm Raptor. In this segment I'm going to cover installing a web server that can pass PHP files and a MySQL server on your local Windows box so that you can get started in some web development. PHP is a powerful server-side scripting language used to generate dynamic pages for the viewer so that you can embed data from a database and have the website content update automatically without you having to manually edit pages. It's what many content management systems and forums use, such as vBulletin and WordPress. The easiest way to quickly get a system like this up and running is to use the XAMPP software package for Windows, which combines all of the applications we're going to need into one bundle. So let's get going. First we'll jump onto the XAMPP website and download the latest file. What you want is the full Windows installer file, and grab that and download it to the desktop. After that, it's as simple as double-clicking the install file and walking through following the prompts. Now the installation's finished, it opens up the control panel. This can also be got from going to the Start menu. Now what we want to do for our testing is click on the Start button next to Apache. Apache is the web server. Then if you click on the Admin button, it should open up your default web browser and take it to the administrative panel. Keep in mind that this should just be used as a development server, although it is open to everybody on your local area network. Notice the address in the address bar. Localhost is a loopback address for your computer which the web server is running on. This is how you can get to all of the files that you put in the web server directory. Now that this page is loaded, we can see that the web server is actually working. Now, as I showed you, the web server can be accessed by going to localhost in your web browser. But where is it pulling the files from? The web browser takes the files from your defaultly installed path and inside the htdocs directory. This is the root of the web server, and this is where you just have to put all of the files that you want to be visible. Now you have the software set up, it's time to start learning PHP. Two great resources are the W3 Schools website and the book Sam's Teach Yourself PHP in 24 Hours. Those two resources will help get you learning in the world of PHP, and you'll be a PHP Jedi in no time. In the future for BSoD, I may do some more segments on PHP and advanced MySQL functions.
In this segment, I want to show you something, for a lack of a better term, I like to call an electronic stethoscope. It's a very simple, easy to put together device that allows you to hear inside of electronic devices. Now, before we even begin, I have to explain the principles and fundamentals of electromagnetism. I'm sure watching the show you have a clear understanding of what magnetism actually is, but do you understand electromagnetism? Well, if you don't, I'll try to give a quick what the fuck. Electromagnetism is created when you pass electricity through a circuit, a chip, or a wire. It's a magnetic field that is created by the flow of electrons through that metal conductor. Now, this electromagnetic field flows from all electronic devices when powered on. Now, being an electromagnetic field, it travels through the air like a radio wave. Now, you can actually take a coil of wire. That coil of wire, much like an antenna, will pick up that electromagnetic wave, and then it'll turn back into minute amounts of voltage. Using a small general-purpose amplifier, you can turn that magnetic field back into audio. Now, if we all can remember back to the earlier episodes of the show, this is my phone-freaking amplifier. What this really is nothing more than a coil of wire, also known as a telephone pickup coil, a coil of wire, and then an audio amplifier with a speaker. So what this is doing is, a speaker works under the fundamentals of electromagnetism. By passing voltage through a coil of wire, it creates an electromagnetic field, which then moves a diaphragm, which is just usually a piece of mylar plastic, that moves the diaphragm, creating sound waves. Now, if all electronic devices have some kind of magnetic field, then you should be able to use a pickup coil to pick up the ambient electronic signature of all electronic devices, if they're working. And this is where the electronic stethoscope comes in. This is nothing more than a basic audio amplifier with a built-in pickup coil. You can actually go and buy a telephone pickup coil and add it to your own home-built amplifier or purchased amplifier. This is just a patch cable for my camera so you guys can listen. And I've got a couple of hard drives here. I'm going to grab the power cable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to power up some of the drives, and I'm going to show you. I'm a drive, hello, IBM 20 gig, nothing too spectacular. And we're going to listen to the EMF of the drive, which normally we would not be able to hear. Okay, some of us don't know that a hard drive consists of a hard drive motor, the motor's right here, which spins platters, and then a set of read arms that are either on this side or this side of the drive. Now, what you just heard was the hard drive spinning up to power. I'll place the amplifier and the coil right over here in the corner where the read arms are, and you can hear the read arms powering up. And those are the sounds of a working, healthy hard drive. So right now, okay, the hard drive to a lesser extent works. Now there are chips and whatnot on the back that you can try to use a pickup coil to pick up all the EMF coming off of them, but because motors and reed arms have a lot of magnetic EMF signature, it kind of drowns out the sounds of the chips, but I'll show you some chips and whatnot later. Here is a 80 gigabyte max storage drive that I know is malfunctioning, and this is actually something Nick from TechCentric wanted to see. You know what? I'll just show you. Now, normally you don't know there's anything wrong with this drive until you take your pickup coil and your amplifier and you put it to the drive and listen to what happens. See? Drive doesn't work. Where's that beep? Beep, bitch. See? I had absolutely no idea that hard drives could have beep error codes. This is the first time I've ever seen that. And for the longest time I thought I was actually going crazier. I mean, the drive is beeping at me. But until I actually took the pickup coil to this thing, I didn't realize that the reed arms and the drive platter motor weren't powering up at all. Let's see if we can get a signature off the chips. Anything? No. Wait. You hear that static? That static is data going across the chip, so we know that this drive is sick. This main chip over here has absolutely no EMF signature. This chip could be malfunctioning. This chip over here, which could be the firmware controller, I don't know, seems to be functioning. The drive arms are not powering up, and neither are the platters. Or, I'm sorry, the reed arms. Here's a 200 gig Western Digital drive that has crashed heads. Now there are like this drive that I just showed you, you'd have no idea that there was anything wrong. You'd have no idea, but now we know because we can hear the EMF. Let's power up this drive and see what's wrong with it. Alright. Those are the sounds of the actual reed arm setting and resetting. That was the sound of the actual platter motor failing and then restarting. And that was the sound of one of the chips on there failing and my Pocket PC complaining low battery. So there we go. There are just some basic hard drives before my Pocket PC runs out of battery because I've had this off the charger for too long. Here's my Pocket PC. Okay, I'm a Pocket PC. Let's see what it sounds like. See, those are just some of the basic sounds of some of the simple chips inside. I'm not going to get into the gory details of, Pocket PC sounds, but with a little bit of experience you can actually go and diagnose your electronics and figure out what is or is not wrong. Like, here's the remote control to my house. You'd think, oh, it's a remote control, it doesn't do anything with radio, but you're wrong. It does emanate electromagnetic frequencies because it's an electronic circuit, it's got chips, and it's got power. So it's very faint. I'll turn the audio amp up a bit. There. Here's the actual activity LED on my... That is the sound of the LED data passing as electromagnetic fields into the amplifier. Okay, let's get a little bit more complicated. Broken laptop, Toshiba Satellite Series. I have no idea what's wrong with it. I was actually able to use the pickup coil to determine that it could be the CPU. Alright, if you hear that over there, that's actually the power circuit and the front as going through the front side bus. Keeping in mind that right now this laptop is off. The laptop's off, yet it's still receiving power, but it won't turn on. There's nothing going through the RAM. the power inverter for the actual backlight's getting some kind of noise. Yet the CPU is getting a very faint amount of EMF on it, which means the CPU is getting power, but not responding to any kind of power on sequence. Here's an active, running, I'm working laptop. Let's hear some of the sounds coming from it. Ooh, I gotta turn that down before I deafen you guys, huh? Telltale sound of a hard drive. That's a telltale sign of some kind of CPU. Oh, that's my CPU core right there. That's the network card right there. Ah, there it is. That's my network card controller. But you can actually hear the amount of noise that the CPU is actually blaring over the entire system. But there you go. All this thing is just an amplifier and a pickup coil, and you can actually use it as an electronic stethoscope to literally listen inside of your electronics to hear the electricity and the electrons flowing through your components. Different things give off different sounds and different frequencies, different pitches, but with a bit of experience you can actually go inside and literally figure out what could be wrong with something without even having to take it apart.
Most tech enthusiasts like myself have always looked at the Pronto Universal Remote Control and drooled. But with a price tag of between $300 and $400, they're just way too expensive for the average person to buy. But that price range is pretty good for a pocket PC, if you ask me. I know I have one, most people do or are planning on getting one, and at BSoD we like to jam as many functions into one device as possible. So today I'm going to show you how to use your pocket PC to turn your TV on and off and other remote control devices around the house. You're going to need a program called TV Remote Controller. I'm running it on my Dell Axum X51V running Windows Mobile 2005. Seems to run okay. It's not freeware, unfortunately, so you're going to have to pay for it or somehow legally obtain it. But I'll put links in the show note of where to download it at. So we're going to pop over to the computer where I'm capturing everything on my pocket PC and show you exactly what I'm doing to set it up. I got my remote control to my TV here, pocket PC here. So the first thing I need to do is, since it doesn't have the codes for my TV, I have an RCA TV, I'm going to teach it some of the buttons off this remote and have it capture the buttons to this. For demonstration purposes today, I'm just showing how to turn the TV on and off, showing power. So, go to the Pocket PC, click Learn, Start Learn. Now you need to enter the device, or the device. I want to add my TV, so for name, I'm going to type RCA. This keyboard. The device type is a TV. Fucking advertisement. Skin type, you want the TV, that way it's got all the buttons for the TV. Click OK. Now read all this learn function information. I'm not going to read it out to you. Click Start Learning. Now this is pretty simple. All you need to do is click the button that you want to program at the time. For now I'm just doing the power button, so I'm going to click the power button on the Pocket PC. Then I'm going to point my remote directly at it, press the power button. If you hear that sound, it grabbed the code. Fuck off, TV. You can capture other devices, or I'm going to right now click End Learning. Now let's try it out. We're going to point the Pocket PC at the TV and press the power button. It turns the TV on. Cool, it works. So now I'm going to show you the second cool thing about it. I like to show my house who's bitch. When I tell it to do something, I want it to do it. So we're going to go into voice commands. So, yeah. Sorry, got lost in the train of thought there. Click the options button and go to voice commands. Go create modify voice commands. So we're going to scroll down to where it says power. Click the record button. Power. 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 You have to say the command 3 times, as it'll tell you on the screen. You want to hold it in different positions each time so that it gets a general feeling of your voice, and it knows, so you don't have to have your Pocket PC like right here every time you go to say it. Now that we're done, I just click the X, exit out of it. Make sure the voice commands, make sure it's listening, which it is. So let's try it. EV, power, lights, power, and it works. Hope you enjoyed this segment. Check the show notes for more information.
In this segment, I want to show some Nintendo DS homebrew. Don't give me any shit about what's better, a PSP or Nintendo DS. This is not a comparison. I'm just here to show you what's available for the Nintendo DS. Now, in front of me I've got a standard Nintendo DS Lite, and I've got my M3 Lite adapter. The M3 Lite adapter is actually a custom-tailored card to fit explicitly in the Nintendo DS perfectly. In the DS Lite perfectly. Now, there are swap-out cartridges so you can put it in a standard DS or a Game Boy Advance. This is called the Slot 2 card, the Game Boy Advance card. The top up here is the Slot 1. Now, if you want to boot code off your Game Boy Advance slot, you need this card called a pass-me or a passkey, depending on which company you're getting it from. This is a bootloader card that allows you to load code off your Nintendo DS Game Boy Advance slot. You put the card in, it has its own proprietary bootloader, and then it drops you into whatever code you got on your cartridge. I'm not going to get into discrepancies of how to use your own card. Read the manual. Now, these Slot 2 cards nowadays are using Transflash cards. Transflash SD or micro SD. They are very, very small. One day wouldn't be surprised if I actually saw a bunny turd that said 1 gig micro SD across it. These things are very small. Earlier cards before this used standard SD cards, and the cards before that used compact flash. Now, of course, things have evolved, and they have actually come up with Slot 1 cards, where there's a card that is the exact size of a Nintendo DS card, and you can put a Transflash card in. This, I believe, is called the M3 Perfect. There's also the R4 card, where there's a small little jack on here where you plug your card into your computer, and you can transfer code directly to 4 gigabits of internal space. I personally like the idea of upgradability with the SD cards, so I went with the M3. I endorse their products. They have never given me a problem, and they are very top quality. You have to be careful when doing research for whatever kind of card solution that you want. Make sure you're getting the features that you want. Now, there are some little bitchy discrepancies I don't like about the M3. They go into saying how they have all of these features like a PDA, which really isn't exactly a PDA. You have to put the files onto your card via their PDA application, which is poorly coded in Visual Basic by Asian people that can hardly speak English, so the manual is very, very hard to understand, if not completely useless. They say that out of the box, the M3 movie player can play movies and music. What they don't tell you is you have to convert all of your movies and music down to a format that they can use on their Crystal engine, which I actually showed you in the Game Boy Advance segment. So, make sure you're not going to get bit in the ass when it comes to getting a card. Just get what you need. Don't break the bank and get more features than you need. Now, I'm trying to pack a lot of information into this segment, so I'm going to try to make this quick. There's something called DLDI, or Dynamically Linked Driver Interface. Because these things use either a FAT16 or a FAT32 or possibly even a FAT12 card, they've actually, a couple of really clever coders created a driver subsystem that people can code into their homebrew, where you can actually patch the ROM file so you can natively read FAT12, FAT16, or FAT32 depending on what card type you have. Now, there's a lot of different card types out there. There's a lot of memory card types out there. There's a lot of SRAM types, a lot of file systems. So let's go to the computer side, and I'll show you a little bit about how to patch the DLDI system. Okay, so here we are at the DLDI, or the Dynamically Linked Device Interface, for the Nintendo DS. This is the main website. What you're going to have to do is go ahead and download some files. The first thing you have to download is the Windows 32 command line, and I'd get the graphical user interface as well. There's also command line for Linux, Windows, and Mac OS X. So, once you get that, if you've noticed, there's a very large list of DLDI files for different types of cards. There's default, which is no device, Ace card, DS Link, DSX, blah blah blah. Now, I have an M3. I have an M3 SD card. So I've already gone ahead and I've downloaded this DLDI file. Now, I'm going to go into the DLDI folder. I've extracted everything to a common folder. I'm going to run the DLDI tool. Now, normally it'll ask you where your DLDI files are. I've already pointed it to the appropriate directory. And the only one I've downloaded is the one for the M3 adapter for the SD card, because that's the only card I have. And then over here you can actually add your binaries, your Game Boy, your Nintendo DS or Game Boy Advance homebrew code, and then hit your patch button, and it'll automatically patch for the DLDI support that you have. Now, that is that when it comes to DLDI. Now, DLDI can be a little finicky, a little bitchy, and very complicated to use. So if you get a chunk of homebrew code, which usually comes in two formats, in either a .gba for Game Boy Advance cards to load off of your slot 2, or an NDS, which you load off of your Nintendo DS card. I can load Nintendo DS code off of my cartridge. The .gba is really for the older cards that use the original SD card or have an older firmware on the card. So, if you have a slot 2 card and then the NDS file isn't loading, try the GBA, and if you get any kind of errors when your program's loading up, then it's most likely because you didn't patch the appropriate FAT. Now, I've noticed that some programs that really don't even require the DLDI support will only run if I actually put the DLDI support. This is just another discrepancy with the M3 adapter. So if something doesn't work, keep on trying. Hit the forums, hit show notes, go online, hit Google, and you can probably get all the help that you need there. Now, let's get into a little bit of the homebrew, shall we? Before we begin, I have to apologize for any kind of shaky camera or whatnot. I gotta give my camera a reach around to do this, so just bear with me. Here we have a standard Nintendo DS booting up. This is the pass card booting up, and here's my card saying not licensed or sponsored by Nintendo. Now we're gonna go into the game menu. And the first thing I want to showcase is Moonshell, once I get down to it. Moonshell is an alternate graphical environment. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Alright. Moonshell is a graphical environment for the Nintendo DS. It's also a loader and a menu system. It's also got a built-in movie player, MP3 player, ebook reader, photo viewer, and text file reader, clock, alarm clock, whole bunch of great stuff. Highly would recommend Moonshell. As you can see, I got a bunch of music just sitting on my card. Go through the songs. It's also got a fully graphical interface. This shows help, it shows ID3 tags, it'll show a whole bunch of stuff. And it's actually a really good looking shell nonetheless. Let's go over to the PC side now. I can show you how to put together Moonshell because it's got so many features I can't even describe them all. Okay, so I've showed you a couple of the features of Moonshell. It does everything that you need. I honestly wish that was the default shell for my card. Some cards don't come with a shell. Moonshell is the shell to get. So back on the computer side here, we're going to go, and I've already downloaded Moonshell from the website. Just Google search for Moonshell, and I'm going to show you how to go out and about and actually create a Moonshell package. Okay, you have to extract everything to a common folder. There it is, and here's the setup. Now we want English language. Hit OK. Okay. and it's going to ask where do we want to save everything to. Now unfortunately I have to save it to my C drive because I don't have my SD card in, but okay. Now, configuration files. Alright, we're just going to do the simple. Configuration files. We want the plugins, the default skins. Do you want to make resume music functionable? Do you want bookmarks? Okay, let's add those in. Okay, there's a whole bunch of readmes that you can probably hardly read because it's all in Japanese. What clock plugin do you want? So you can actually choose a different skin and hit preview, and it will show you a preview of what kind of clock plugin you want. I kind of like the Blue Moons. They're kind of elegant. You can create your own. Also wants to know what kind of character set you're using for your game, for your Nintendo DS. Now, here's built-in DLDI support. Now, I don't have most of these cards. I have the M3 SD card, so that's the only one I'm going to leave in right now. Okay, and then all you got to do is hit setup, and there you go. Now once you get back to your, it should have spit out some of the C drive, so let's go to my computer, go to my C drive, and there's my Moonshell M3 SD card for the M3 adapter. There's Moonshell. So there you go. Moonshell is really easy to build. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but once you get it built, come on, you can't do without Moonshell. That is the end all, the application of applications. If you're gonna put anything on your Nintendo DS, it's got to be Moonshell. The next thing on the list I want to showcase is the Nintendo DS Wi-Fi scanner. It's actually part of a demo Wi-Fi library test, and there it is. We can choose war driving, do a remote keyboard, remote packet capture, connect to access points, or show what kind of information the DS has, MAC address. What I really like is the packet capture. I mean, it's not the kind of packet capture you would expect from packet injection or anything like that. It'll actually show the actual data going across the entire Wi-Fi spectrum itself. It's very handy, very, very useful. You can also exit and go into the war driving section, which it'll actually report all of the signal strengths and access points within the area. Now, the Nintendo DS Lite has a really shit antenna, but the standard Nintendo DS, the original, has one hell of an antenna. It's a very impressive device, and what's really cool about this is right now I can pull out my card, both my pass card and my M3 card, and then load and this will run from RAM. It's small enough to run from RAM, so I can load this up on another card, on another DS. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a laptop or a PDA, you can still use your Nintendo DS to be a Wi-Fi scanner. So shit, if you're not technically inclined and you want to have a fun day of Techno Terror with the guys or some of the gals, there you go. Wi-Fi scanner in your pocket. The next chunk of homebrew I want to actually show, it's actually quite useful, is Air Replay for Nintendo DS. That is right, the packet injection tool used for cracking web has been made available for the Nintendo DS. Now, it's still in beta and it's still buggy. However, it does seem to slightly work from time to time. It really is very assy about things. It does need a lot of work, and they're still working on it, but definitely something very interesting that a lot of laptops nowadays can't do packet injection, and a lot of computers can't do packet injection, so if you can actually use Air Replay and ARP Replay attacks to do deauthentication attacks for cracking web, not that we condone cracking, but still nonetheless, very useful application. The only time I would actually condone any kind of game piracy is in this case, where some of the applications I'm going to show you require Wi-Fi, and the only way to actually set up Wi-Fi is to have a Wi-Fi enabled game, or what we call a Nintendo WFC game, or a Wi-Fi connected game. I feel it's kind of craptastic to have to go out there and pay $40-50 for a Wi-Fi connected game that you're never going to play just to configure your settings. So if that's the case, go out and get yourself a bootleg copy of a game. I'll run you through the settings real quick. Go to your Nintendo Wi-Fi setup, and you go up to any one. Let's go to this one. It's not set up, and you can either search for an AOSS compatible, which is like the Nintendo Wi-Fi stick. You can go through a manual setup if you know everything about the access point, or you could do the search for access point. Okay, and this showed me a couple of access points, and we can go on to this, and it'll ask for the web key. You put in your web key. Now, some of the homebrew is kind of assy, and you have to enter your IP address, your DNS, your subnet mask, and your gateway manually. Some of them can automatically detect it, and some of them doesn't even use the WFC settings whatsoever. So if you have a Wi-Fi based application and it's not working, go into your WFC settings. First, try to have everything auto-discover, then specify everything by itself, and then probably read the README file, because you most likely didn't do that and you're doing something horribly wrong. But once you have your Wi-Fi connected, here's a couple of useful applications you can use afterwards. DSAIM, or DS America Online Instant Messenger, is just that. It's an instant messenger for America Online Instant Messenger client for the Nintendo DS. Works pretty well. I really don't have any problems with it. I think the controls are a little clunky, but it works pretty well. Just got to go in and set up your WFC settings, and you can hop on pretty much any access point that you have the settings for, and you can do instant messenger from it. There's also an IRC client, which I'll show you in a moment, and there's also Yahoo and MSN Instant Messenger. Now, I'm not going to log in and showcase this because I don't want you guys harassing me or all my buddies, so going to go on to the next one. This is called DSIP. I guess I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but what it does is it's a session initialization protocol client, which is used for voice over IP. So this will turn your Nintendo DS into a soft phone. Unfortunately, you have to configure it using the config file line by line. It's still in beta, but shows a lot of promise that you can use your Nintendo DS as a voice over IP soft phone over Wi-Fi. I think that's very interesting. DS Organize is a PDA application it's pretty nifty, although the front end and the graphics are kind of crappy. You got your address book, you have a day planner, you have a calendar, you have a to-do list, you have a scribble pad where you can just scribble wherever you want, but not really going to go into it. And it's also got an IRC client, and it's got a whole bunch of fun stuff in it. The front end's really crappy, but nonetheless, it's an organizer and a PDA. It'll keep all your contacts. Even has an IRC client and a file browser already built in, so you can actually go and browse around all your files and whatnot. So, yeah, give it a shot. You might like it. Here we have IRC DS. It's still in beta, but nonetheless, this has to be one of the more used homebrew applications that I use, and it's just that. It is actually an IRC client for the Nintendo DS. Okay, we'll put in a nickname. Come on. This is being very assy. Okay, you know what? I'm having a hard time using this stylus because I'm giving my camera a reach around right now. But nonetheless, it works, and it works really well. You just have to make sure that your router settings are set up in your Nintendo wireless configuration. Here we have DS Live Weather. It's just a weather application. It'll actually log on to the internet, go online, and get your local weather forecast. You really, no thrills, no frills. Again, this is another one of those applications that you're going to need to make sure you have your Wi-Fi connections programmed into your Nintendo DS if you're using a Wi-Fi connected game. And there you go. It's weather on your Nintendo DS. Yippee freaking skippy. For all of you hardcore Neo-Japan anime freak bags out there that have absolutely nothing better to do with your time but to wank off to, fantasy anime fanfic porn, there's Hentai DS, which nonetheless I couldn't even consider a demo at this point, but if you're one of these Neo-Japanese ravars, or whatever the fuck they're called, and you just have to go and beat out some knuckle children in public bathrooms because you've got nothing better to do at a restaurant than stare at your obese girlfriend, or fantasizing that you actually want to be a 17-year-old, Asian anime girl. I don't know. Maybe this will float your boat just a little bit. If manhandling your your extra man meats down there isn't dripping off the pounds the way they actually should be. They actually have Weight Watchers for the Nintendo DS. You go online, you can go and get a whole bunch of point values. I mean, I don't do Weight Watchers. Lord knows if I did, I'd probably just blow away in the breeze with the trench coat. But nonetheless, it's Weight Watchers for the Nintendo DS. So, if all you hardcore, all your hardcore anime, masturbating monkeys out there, if that ain't shedding the pounds, maybe eating right and doing valid exercise will work. And if you have to go and boast that you're using your Nintendo DS to do it, so be it. Go for it. I honestly have to say this has to be one of the most useful and inspiring applications I've ever seen homebrew-wise. Trying to get fat-ass gamers to quit being fat asses, but not to quit being gamers. Well, you can't solve all the world's problems, at least you can get half of them. What the hell would homebrew be without emulation at all? And we all know I'm a huge NES fan. And this is NES DS. And I wonder what it does. Perhaps it's an NES emulator? Perhaps. Okay, this you have to patch with DLDI support, so you gotta make sure you get that up and running. I've been into NES emulation for about 10 years now. And this is the first time I've actually seen an emulator that does something that no other does. Okay? Of course, we have the fast forward. We all know about fast forward. Does save states, does load states. Has a debug window that lets you see all the data going across the system. Shows a lot of potential for some ROM hacking. But it has this emulator has something that no other has. Rewind! Yeah, that's right. This emulator has rewind. After so many years, I thought I've seen it all, and that you can't add any more features into an emulator. Lo and behold, they've got one more. Rewind. Of course, you got different filter effects, and you can alter the input buttons and all that such, but, nonetheless, this has to be one of the best emulators I've seen for a handheld device ever. And of course, we have the trustful and faithful SNES emulator. Now, it's not completely working right now, but it does show a lot of potential. Again, you need your DLDI support, and ROMs are illegal, ROMs are unlawful, stealing is bad, blah blah blah. Now, there is some glitching and there are some problems with the layers, and it's still in beta, but it works. I mean, I guess it's playable for the most part. It's still missing a lot of support for DSP chips and other coprocessors such as the SuperFX and SuperFX 2, but it works. No homebrew segment would be complete without some kind of homebrew game itself, and the Nintendo DS is no different from anything else. Here's a game called Amplitude DS. It's a clone of the game called Amplitude, which is a mix of Dance Dance Revolution and kind of like a tracker program. So you can actually remix tracks as you play the game for points and combos. Now it's gonna be very difficult for me to play in this position, but I'm gonna try. There is so much stuff for Nintendo DS Homebrew that's completely impossible to mention even a cunt hair of it. This is just one of the games. This game is completely 3D and completely done for free. I suck. Well, anyway, this is me being very horrible at this game. It's completely done in 3D. It's got some really awesome remixed audio tracks of your favorite game music, and then some. They also have things like Duke Nukem. I think they've ported some of the earlier Quake games. They've created kind coding competition homebrew games. They have painting programs. They have organizer programs. They have platformers. They've got shooters. They've got first-person shooters. They've got side-scrollers. They've got action-adventure. There is so much homebrew out there that it'll take... It took me 2 weeks just to cover just this little bit I showed in this segment. So I would highly suggest get a couple of buddies on IRC or on forums or such. Start talking about what is awesome, what is not so awesome, what's tolerable, what's horrible, and what's workable. So this is the end of the segment. Hit me up on IRC or check out the show notes. I'll try to put some links and crap of the such. But anyway, you know, stealing ROMs is bad. Please don't do it.